All right. Hi, Carla. Nabucco, how's it going? We'll get started here in a moment. We'll let everybody kind of get logged in while you are kind of enjoying the peace and quiet of the beginning because there's not going to be a lot to say. If you have any questions throughout this webinar, please let me know. I will check the chat afterwards. I am still having some weird issues with Zoom and sharing screens. So if my screen goes out, somebody please ping me. I will see the chat. Okay. Let's give everybody about 30 more seconds and then we'll officially kick things off. So hopefully everybody's having a great day so far. I do want to remind you that there will be a slight little tiny movement session at the end of this. So don't worry if you're not in fitness clothes. Look at me. I mean, I'm wearing fancy clothes today. And then I do have my chair back here to use to adjust some of these movements. So if you're in a cube, if you're at home, if you're not in fitness clothes, whatever, we can still get a nice little fun movement session in. All right. That's it for that. Let's go ahead and get things rolling. So welcome in to our Move with a Purpose webinar today. So I get the pleasure of delivering this twice. So this one will probably be even better. I do have some really cool technology. So if you see me holding my phone in my hand, it's because that is my clicker to move the slides forward. So don't think that I'm texting or anything weird like that during our presentation. So for those of you that don't know who I am Coach Clint. And again, today we are going to be in our wellness retreat and we get to talk about the movement section. And we decided to title this Move with a Purpose because there's so much we can move in and there's so many reasons why. And we want to kind of help you focus in on what that is. So today's objectives, we're going to look at the importance of movement and how it can kind of enhance your day-to-day life. We're going to look at what does moving with a purpose mean, and we're going to make some joyful movements out of today. And then, like I said, we're going to finish with a little mini workout at the end. We call it showcase because it sounds cool. But like I said, our goal is to have some really good takeaways for you out of this so that you can start incorporating these things into your day-to-day workouts, but then understand that there's different ways to kind of attack movement. So with that, let's kind of move on. So what is the importance of movement? And I understand these slides can be a little hard to read, so I will be going over these with you. But there are so many physical benefits to movement that we won't have time to list or give examples of all of these things. But some of the main ones that you probably know about or that you've heard about are improved strength, increased lean muscle, weight loss, and flexibility. Some of the ones that maybe you didn't know came with um, kind of this increased movement activity in your body would be it does enhance endurance, even if you're just doing workouts. And it definitely reduces the risk of injury. That's why physical therapists, occupational therapists, athletic trainers, we use movements to help your body move more efficiently and keep itself running, but also get you ready for those moments that matter most. So when you twist, you don't hurt yourself. So that kind of injury prevention side of movement kind of gets lost in there because we focus on kind of the pretty side, right? The getting lean, that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. There's also some huge mental and emotional benefits like reduced stress, increased mood, increased energy, which ultimately leads to higher performance, both at work, in your family life, just in general. So there's some big time benefits, not only for movement, but the fact that you do have this emotional attachment to movements also. And then just daily functionality. It increases your everyday activity through functional movement can really help you again in just allowing your just getting in your meat before, right? Your non-exercise active thermogenesis, very fancy way of doing things in your day-to-day functions that are like doing the dishes, folding the laundry. In my case, chasing a 19-month kid around the house all day long, right? Those are the things that add up, and we kind of forget about those over time. Moving with the purpose means exactly do we mean that? So there's a few different things we're going to look at today. So we want to look at making this intentional, meaningful, and functional. So intentionality, we want to make sure that we're setting clear goals and having a very focused effort on some kind of a meaningful activity. So when we set an intention, just like setting a goal for your weight loss or how you want to look, right? When we actually reach out and set a goal and we give ourselves steps to get to this maybe overarching goal with little goals, it helps us to keep moving forward. If we don't have an intention, uh, just it's kind of like throwing something out there in the wind. You never know where it's going to stick. So we want to make sure that you have a purpose behind what you're doing, and you do that first by setting a clear intention. We also want you to under has to be meaningful. Just like, again, we're going to go into the goal situation, but if you don't have a meaningful goal, if it's just something that you see everybody else doing on Instagram or Facebook or something like that, it's not going to mean as much to you, and it's going to be a lot harder to continue to move forward. So when we say meaningful, it has to be something that resonates with you personally and provides joy to you. So just again, a quick example, meaningful thing for me is I want to be able to stay playing with my 3 little boys that run around this house, and if I didn't stay mobile throughout my week, I can't even imagine how hard it would be for me to be dad with these insanely energetic little ones. So I have to make sure my goal is to increase my energy levels by staying active and making sure I work on my flexibility and things that are harder to do, but I can do that with a nice, tight meaningfulness. Functionality. So trying to incorporate things that enhance real life things. So, just like the other two, if it doesn't seem functional to you, if it doesn't make sense to you, it's really hard to kind of follow along. And you might have seen some like YouTube workouts or even like Instagram and Facebook workouts. Social media is amazing. There's a lot of stuff out there. But again, if it's not functional to you and what you are setting for yourself, it's really hard to continue doing it. So that's why when we say we want you to have some purpose in your moving, that's what we mean. We want you to make sure that you are creating a foundation for you to continue to build on and not fall off and accountable to yourself. All right. So we also want to look at a different ways to do this. So a holistic approach, right, where we maybe engage the whole body and consider the mental well-being also. So we want to pick things that for us, again, hit those 3 topics from before. Okay. So we want to make sure that it's functional, it gives us good intention, and it's meaningful. And when we do that, it gives us that holistic feeling because not only are you engaging with your body, you're feeling good because you're doing an activity, but then you get those huge benefits we talked about earlier with the mental wellness. We can do this through social interaction. So, going to a gym, going to a fitness center, working with people around you, uh, you also just get this because of those benefits of the fact that your body can't have negative and positive hormones running around at the same time. When we increase the positive ones by doing more activities, staying active, it kind of helps push that inflammation out of our body because we're getting rid of those stress markers and things like that. So it really helps you to be a more fully rounded person within your wellness routine. So just like we've talked about mental wellness, our mindset at the beginning of this month, We talked about nutrition. Now we're talking movement, and then we'll jump into recovery. That's why we look at this holistic thing is we want to take care of all of those pieces, not just focus on one. You focus on one, and again, it will just kind of fall apart because it doesn't have a good foundation to build off of. Again, we want to make sure it's sustainable, creating a long term, enjoyable routine so that you avoid burnout. As a coach, I know firsthand what it looks like when we go over and over and over and over and over about the same routine. It can get really hard to stay accountable to your workouts. So, with purposeful movements, we can create some joy. We can put some different things in there that have a meaning to us and fit one of our goals, but we can still stick with our normal training program. And we'll kind of look at this a little bit later with a little case study and going into our movements we're going to do at the end of how we can plug these kind of things in and make it sustainable. Burnouts for real, it's not just a work thing. Workouts, that's where we see a lot of the drop off, especially when things get hard or we do hit kind of those repeats of different phases and things. So by freshening it up for yourself, you don't have to put that on anybody else. You can kind of add some of these other things in. Maybe instead of doing 5 days a week of metabolic challenge, you do 3 days a week, and then you take yoga, you take Pilates, or maybe you go for runs. Giving yourself some of those different kinds of movements that again align with your big three will help you to not have that burnout and fall off of your program. Mindfulness, being present in each and every moment, okay, and always reflecting on your progress. I hate scales. I always have hated scales. When I was little, scales told me I was too little. When I have grown up, scales tell me I'm too big. Scales are kind of one of those things I do. I don't appreciate them. It shows you how much gravity likes you, right? So you can reflect in other ways. Reflect on how you feel. Look internal. See how you're feeling. See if your body likes what you're doing, right? Do some body scans. I know we talked about that in the first series of this wellness retreat. Doing some body scans, super simple. You can go up and down. You see how your body is reacting to your workouts. It's an awesome way to check in and make sure that you are seeing for real progress, not just looking in the mirror or reading a scale. This also helps you to maybe avoid some of the negative impacts of social media and getting that kind of that crumbling feeling of overloading on, well, that person looks really good and they said they've only been working out for 2 weeks and blah, 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 blah. We're also different. It's hard to use that stuff. So I want you to be mindful in your journey and be present in your journey. And along with that, when you are doing workouts and maybe you go for a run, instead of being so locked into what you're missing at work or the things that you have to do tomorrow, be in that moment. Look around you. If you're running outside, notice the house that you're running by if you're in town, or maybe you're out on a trail. Notice the smells, notice the sights, the sounds. Take stock in those moments. And again, it gives you that kind of sustainable feel because then you go, oh, wow, when I was out there, I was able to relax. I took in some sights. I had some great oxygen, right? And that gives you that meaningfulness that we talked about on the first or the slide right before this. So joyful movements. Joyful movements are something that I have always been happy with because again, I'm a soccer player. Fitness has been a big part of my life, but to stay active in it, I have had to be pretty I guess pretty open-minded on adding new things into my routines to still or stay away from that burnout feel. So gamification is something you might have heard before, maybe not, but gamification is taking everyday things and making it fun with challenges or games. So in my case, as a soccer player, we did a lot of sprints. We did a lot of track running. We did a lot of things that just get old over time. So what we did was our coach made it fun. He would take a tennis ball out on the track and we'd have to do a 40-yard sprint and he would drop the ball and we had to jump up off of the ground and be the first one to the ball, right? It just gives you something to go for. We do other fitness tests where then he'd make it a team thing. We as a team had to compete, and if the winning team or the winning team got to take a break, the losing team had to do something else, and then the winning team got to cheer them on, right? So you had this uh, challenge, this kind of different feel to your day-to-day workout, and it gives you a little spice in your training. We talked about this a little earlier, but variety and exploration, trying new activities, incorporating playful movements. So maybe you're into strength, maybe you're into cardio. Try some new things, add some new activities in. Maybe yoga you didn't realize was such a strength thing. I guarantee if you've never tried Pilates, you'd be amazed at how hard Pilates can be and how much it challenges your body. Just doing these little changes can make it just feel a little bit better. You're trying something new. You're leaning into that uncomfortable to grow as a mover. And then you can also add in things like dance or um, just again any kind of playful movement. Play is one of those things that we forget to do as an adult. In my case, going out and learning how to throw a baseball properly with Lucas, my oldest, like that was something I didn't realize was so hard to do. I always looked at baseball players and like they're horrible. They don't run as much as I did as a soccer player, but there's a lot to do in that, and it was good for my shoulder dexterity and all those things. So again, just incorporating some of those things, be more childlike in your fitness pursuits. Tips for integration, practical ways to incorporate purposeful movements into daily routines. So trying to find different avenues to add things in. So you get RSI guard uh, reminders throughout your day. I know they don't ever come at the most opportune time, but that's a great opportunity to maybe try something new. Some of these things we're going to look at today in a couple of slides down the line. Maybe you get to play with some of these movements and have some fun with them. These are easy things you can do. Doesn't always have to be a stretch break, but when we incorporate some of these more fun things that are purposeful, it's easier to sustain and keep going. So here's our case study part. So this is Mark V, 55-year-old ex-athlete, lifts 3 times a week, loves his routine. He does not want to change things up. It's not fun for him to change things up. Uh, in his movement assessment, we see that he has tight hips and a tight T-spine, but his goals really align well with kind of what we've talked about in this whole webinar today. He wants to be able to play with the grandkids on the ground, as well as playing some basic ball with his oldest and not get winded, right? That sounds like a lot of us. How do we do those things and not have negative effects? So this is a little idea of what Mark's movements would look like. And I don't know if this is in your way, but I'm going to move myself out of the way. Mark's workout is a very basic workout. 3 sets of 10 on bench press with a decent amount of rest time for a strength class. And then lower body, because he's obviously doing an upper push, lower pull workout. He's doing deadlifts. Again, a great movement, lots of rest time, really focusing on strength. That's what this program is built for. And because he's on his routine, he probably has seen some growth, but maybe it's plateaued a little bit because it's a very specific strength workout. So, how do we maybe spice this up? How do we help Mark get a little bit better and get closer to his goals without changing his routine? Well, that's where we can add in some purposeful movements. So we can look at like a single leg activation or a little bit more mobility. Because remember, we saw in his movement assessment, he was tight in his hips and his T spine. And then maybe we add in a little bit more endurance because his full time goal is to be able to play with those grandkids and not be winded. So we do not have to change the full routine, but we can spice it up a little bit and have a really good why behind. So this is what I want you to look at your own routine and look at how we're going to adjust and put in these little fun things during that rest time. So you're really not changing much up. You just get to upgrade a little bit. So here's our reinvented movement session. This is what we're actually going to go through today. So we're going to do push-ups. That's why I had you bring your chair or a wall or anything like that. We do not have to get down on the floor. I'm just going to do it on the chair. But what we're going to do is a 3x5 workout of push-ups. So a good, nice little upper push. And within those rest breaks, remember it's about 30 seconds to a minute and a half, we're going to throw in these other movements. So let's kind of get into this really quick. And let me adjust my screen. And then I'm actually going to pause, stop sharing for a second. So it's just me. And what we're going to do, I'm going to come back here. So if you have never done push-ups before, that is fine. You're going to just join me. I'm going to be nice and high on my chair. I'm going to step my feet back. I'm going to plant my hands firmly on my chair. Now, if you have a rolly chair, push it up against something so it doesn't roll away. You can also do this up against the wall. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our elbows straight to our sides, keeping our core nice and tight, and then we're going to press back. Now, if we're going to match Mark's workout, we're going to do this with a little bit of tempo. So you're just going to count in your own head, 3, 2, 1, and then press back up. So here's your little bit of movement today. Go ahead and get yourself set up. Let's get 5 of these. On your own, don't rush. Take your time. Get that 3, 2, 1. Press back up. Try to keep your back nice and flat. Make sure you're breathing through this movement. Beautiful. So as you're kind of pushing into the floor, into the wall, into your chair, wherever you're pushing right now, what you're engaging is you're actually working through your pecs, your shoulders, your back, your torso. So you're doing a really good total body strength workout right there for 5 quick reps. Now we're going to incorporate that next little piece. So Mark wants to do his RDLs, his regular RDLs. Well, today, and now if you're worried about balance, we're going to have a fix for that. But we're going to go single leg RDL, which works on hip and then also a little bit of strength. So I place my hands on my chair. I soft bend in my knee. I reach back. Now, if you're in a cube and you don't have this much length, all you do is you stagger your stance. You put your big toe next to your heel and you do that same movement. You push here and then you come up nice and tall. You should feel a little stretch in your hamstring. We're just going to do 5 of these. This is our rest period for our chest. Super simple. We're working on another strength piece. We're getting a little extra movement in. We're working the hamstrings and the hips, which hamstrings and hips take a beating in our day-to-day working on our computers. Okay, so I'm going to go single leg RDL on this side, kicking it back, coming up nice and tall. Beautiful. Let's get nice long range of motion here. Trying to keep your back nice and flat all the way through this movement. Engage that core just like in our push-up. Awesome. Once you're done with your 5 on each side there, we're just going to go ahead and get ourselves set for our push-ups again. So that was about a minute of rest right there. You didn't do anything with your chest. So your chest got the rest it needed. So you can continue your strength. So we're just going to dive right back in that chest work. Do that count for yourself. Now this is only going to take us about 5-ish minutes. We got about 2 more to go before we're closing out. So we might expedite this a little bit. Beautiful, but we're still getting good movement in. So get your 5 push-ups, and then we're going to go down and take a half kneeling stance. Now, if you're in a cube and you don't want to get down on the floor, stay here. Stay up, but glue your heel to the floor. So you're still in that lunging style position. So what I'm going to do, I'm half kneeling or in that tall position. I'm just going to reach across my body. I'm going to open up my T-spine. So what are we doing here? We're getting into our hips. We're opening up our T-spine. We're also opening up our chest. As you're kind of pushing through this movement, I want you to think about squeezing your glute on this down leg, keeping your chest nice and vertical, reaching behind you, looking where that hand's going, and you can even go palm up as you rotate. Let's just do 2 on each side, just for sake of time, but you can add more in later. As soon as you get that 2, switch to the other side, squeeze that down glute, and reach across. Now this hand is just helping get a little bit more rotation in as you're doing this. Because this is recovery, you can breathe. Use your out breath to get a little bit more mobility in. And it's an awesome way to get a little extra, not only mobility, but some stability and some strength work in also. So then, obviously, we're done with that. We can get back up on our feet. See, we get joyful movement in just going up and down too. Now, this is where the playful one comes in. I'm going to skip the push-ups this round, but we would do our push-ups again. Now, we're going to incorporate a little gamification. So what I want you to do, I want you to reach up to the sky. You're going to drop into a base position. Okay, so you're just going to get in an athletic stance, and you're going to watch me. I'm going to do a 2-inch run. When I'm in my 2-inch run, you keep your eyes on me. If I move to the left, you move to the left. If I move to the right, you move to the right. See if you can keep up. I'm not going to say it. You're just going to watch. Ready? We're going to do this for about 10 seconds. Reach up. Go. Drop in. Go. 2-inch run. And then follow me. Follow me. Oh, how are you doing? Oh, see, it's not that hard, but it's kind of fun. And rest. Good. Let's do that same thing, but keep an eye on me and do what I do all the way up. Last one. Go. Drop in. Go. 2-inch runs. Then what am I doing? Oh, he turned sideways. What's he doing? How's he doing that? Lots of practice, and rest. So just like that. Again, you got a little cardio in. Your heart rate's maybe up a little bit. It's nothing too challenging, but it gives you a little break from your chest and allows you to put a little spice into your workout. So with that being said, we've come up on time. So I just want to open the floor up to anybody who has questions. I want to thank you for being here. So if you got to bounce to your next meeting, go ahead and do so. But I will stay on for a couple minutes to answer any questions for anybody that needs to hang out. But thank you for joining me, Coach Clint, talking about purposeful movements today for our wellness retreat. Make sure you check out our recovery stuff that we have in the app and everywhere else too. A lot of foam roller stuff, a lot of good stuff for you in your day-to-day pursuit of doing some movements that matter. So check those out. And if I have any questions, I do have the chat window open. Oh, my voice was cutting out. I wonder why. I apologize for that. Thanks, Naboku. All right. If I don't have any questions, you can incorporate purpose movements throughout your workout. So it does not have to be just, here and there. You can take like corrective exercise. You could take some of the stuff you've learned in yoga. Great opportunity to kind of incorporate some of those other movements that you really like into maybe a strength program. If you've watched any of the strength, especially the foundations one in the app on demand, a lot of the coaches will program in kind of those purposeful movements in their training. It's kind of again, we call it active rest. That way you're not just sitting there waiting for the coach, and it gives us something to coach to, but it also gives you the ability to learn some new skills or take to the, take into your next workout. So great question. All right. With that, I'll let you get out of here. Have a great rest of your day. If anybody has any follow-up questions, you can ping me at clintx.carlson@intel.com. I'd love to hear from you, and I will talk to you all later. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your Thursday. See you later. Bye, everybody.